Jon Meacham, let's bring you into the conversation here as we talk about the special relationship between the Queen and past presidents, 13 of the 15 that she has, in fact, met. She has visited the United States on 7 separate occasions. The last was back in 2010 when she was 84 years of age. Of note, though, the White House unit actually noting to us that the Queen and Prince Philip only visited the U.S. during Republican presidencies, which I find quite fascinating. John, do you know why? And are there any presidents, past presidents, that she had special relationships with?
I suspect that's a coincidence. I don't think there was a partisan element to Her Majesty's state visits. There was that wonderful visit during George Herbert Walker Bush's administration where they forgot to put President Bush was about 6'2". Her Majesty is not. And they forgot to put a riser behind the podium. Oh, right. And so at the White House, her hat gave a speech. And then she brilliantly turned it around. It's worth finding the picture. And then she brilliantly turned it around when she addressed Congress and said, "I hope you can see me." And so no, I don't think there's a partisan element there. I think we should take half a step back. It was 82 years ago that she gave her first broadcast to the world. It was the Blitz, the German assault on civilian targets and military targets in England began in September of 1940. In October of 1940, she and Princess Margaret spoke on Children's Hour, the popular BBC program. And here's this 14-year-old girl talking about the danger and sadness of war. And talking about, in some ways, it's echoed with her address. It was echoed in her address about COVID when she said, we shall meet again. We will meet again. She talked about the importance of what those children would do once peace came. And the person who is entering her final chapter of her earthly pilgrimage here is a living embodiment of this extraordinary century of strife against fascism, of standing against Soviet tyranny, of just enduring. And I think one of the things is, Walter Bagehot, the great the founder of The Economist magazine, 19th century writer, wrote about monarchy and said, one of the keys to British monarchy is we must not let daylight in upon the magic. And there's a lot of truth to that. But one of the legacies of Elizabeth II will be that she did adapt in many ways to the shifting culture. Prince Albert, her great-grandmother's husband, created this notion, great-great-grandmother, I guess, created this notion that the British royal family should in many ways reflect more of the middle-class values, that there would be this kind of commerce, not literally money, but this connection between the people and the monarchy. And she understood that. So as countercultural as she is, because she is silent in a world that speaks too much, when people study the institution, for a constitutional monarchy to endure as long and as well as this one has, it's a remarkable achievement.